morning and welcome to the Morning Spotlight podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ham, coming to you as always from the Spotlight Studios in Morristown, New Jersey. No panel today. We're doing a single guest, but I'm really excited for everybody to meet him. He's an entrepreneur, and along with several other companies, he's the founder of Fukitt Clothing, and he is also the president and founder of StartDayOne, a nonprofit organization for suicide prevention. Ricardo Zulueta Jr. Ricardo, how you doing today?
Great. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. Living the dream, man. Great day out, ready to do this.
Get this Monday going,
That's right. Yeah. So let's just round you out a little bit because I know you. Our listeners don't. So let's kind of take your story up until founding Fukitt. So kind of, get to know you a little bit.
Okay. Until founding? So beforehand? So I graduated from Fairleigh Dickinson, actually where you're living around now. Graduated with finance. After that, I graduated, went into a financial analyst position pretty much from there until about 10 years ago. Last place I worked at was AT&T. Then after that, I had, the Fukitt Clothing on the side. So I started getting into just doing it more full time because I'm just like, that was my third layoff. I'm like, all right, there's no, what do you call it? Stability in the corporate world either. So I'm like, why am I going to rely on them? So that's when I started going more full time with the clothing.
Great. So a mutual friend introduced us. And when he told me about Fukitt, I went to the website and, read through the story and I was immediately sold. I mean, I got the Fukitt shirt on, I got the wristband on right now.
Yeah, I love it.
So tell us a little bit about Fukitt, the mission behind it and all that.
Yeah. So I've made it pretty nice and concise. So everyone always, talks about living life to the fullest. So everyone knows the concept, right? Except the problem is that it's impossible. It's actually human nature to take life for granted just because of the law of supply and demand, right? So I mentioned people, what you really need are reminders. And by reminders, what I mean is people passing away is a reminder. Someone getting cancer, seeing an accident. It just reminds you to appreciate life more and take it less for granted. Not because someone told you to, you just got reminded to.
Right.
So the problem is when you get these reminders, it's very temporary. It always fades no matter what. There's a lot of people watching this like, fuck, it's Monday. Every week, you didn't know last week that it's going to be Monday again. Like, why are we never prepared for this? So it's very temporary.
Right.
So we figured, why not have a brand remind you more often? Every time you wear the brand, it just tells you like, hey, live life a little more instead of complaining about it. So obviously it started going towards mental health, because motivation, inspiration always leads to that, right?
Right.
So we started supporting suicide prevention awareness. A lot of people don't know, but I actually lost my brother to suicide. And one of the biggest things I learned from that experience was that whenever people get sad or depressed, it's not actually their situation. It's their perspective that really sucks. And I always say that's the reason rock stars commit suicide. Well, the homeless are the ones trying to stay alive. Like, isn't that a little weird?
Right.
So the perspective is what's really off. So the way we try to change perspective with the brand, even though it's pronounced Fukitt, it actually persuades people to say fuck it more without being offensive about it. So that's very important. And here's why. Everyone is exposed to motivational, inspirational stories all day, every day. Facebook videos, Instagram quotes, Nike, just do it commercials. It's actually everywhere, right? And I always ask the question, then why isn't it working for everyone seeing this? Because they're all actually meaningless unless you make a decision about something. Unless you make a decision, nothing happens. But once you do, everything tends to follow. And people don't know this, but the only time that you actually say the phrase fuck it is only until after we've already made a decision.
Yeah.
That's the only time. And the reason you say it is because you're actually confirming to yourself. You never say fuck it for someone. It's just an internal thing that you say kind of out loud. And you're just confirming to yourself that you're actually going to follow through and commit to the decision you just made. Right. You never back out. Whether you're playing poker, fucking them all in, or jumping out, skydiving. No one goes fuck it and go, wait, not yet, I'm not ready. So that's kind of like what we're trying to push. And because that mindset, when you have that fuck it mindset, when you make that decision, that's the most important part. And that's how you're going to quit the job you hate.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to go on vacation or start your own business. Until you decide, nothing will happen. But once you do, everything follows. It's kind of like how we were talking, you starting a podcast. Like, you didn't research podcasting first. You just kind of went, you know what, I'm going to do a podcast.
Yeah.
And you just, everything will follow. All of a sudden you're like, oh, should I make a background? Oh, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. And now you're just looking into things and it just evolves, right? And that's where it always starts, is the decision.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the reason why the whole, mission and idea behind Fukitt resonated with me, but, we've talked about this, is that, I struggled with some mental health issues over the last couple of years. And, it wasn't until I, like you said, started to change my mindset and my perspective on things, and then, I mean, it was like almost like a perfect storm, right? So earlier this year, February 1st, moved into my apartment, which also doubles as the Spotlight Studios. And, and then all of a sudden, like a month and a half later, whatever it is, COVID starts. Everything shut down. So I can't even, utilize this apartment for what I wanted to do. Yeah. And then obviously that changed quite a bit of what my job is, to go out and meet with people, go out to lunches, go out for drinks, go out to events. And obviously all that was shut down.
Gone.
And then it kind of just left me with a decision, now what? Right. So then
that's
where
right.
do I go from there? And so that's why, I started some networking events. I started the Morning Spotlight started as a LinkedIn video series, and now it's just a full-blown podcast. And I'm very proud of what I was able to do over that time. Yeah.
That's awesome. And, just for people that are listening, I just want to emphasize, it's so awesome that you always say, like, well, now what? Because I always emphasize that to people whenever you're, trying to make, basically just feeling lost and complaining about your life and this and that. That one of the best questions to ask yourself is, well, now what? Because you go into a solution mindset, which is what you did.
Right. Because
when you ask now what, you're looking at all the consequences, you're looking at your situation, and you're really going like, all right, like, now what? What do I right?
Hang on one sec. Can you say that again? Because you got out a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So
hang on, Ricardo. Your audio is getting a little bit messed up.
Oh, maybe it's here. Is that better?
There we go. Yeah, you're good now.
Okay.
I'll fix that when before I post it.
All right. Yeah. So you're saying, asking yourself the question, now what, is great, because it actually gets the answers out of you. Because you really think about your situation and the consequences.
Yeah.
You're putting yourself in that position to hold yourself accountable. Like, well, this is my duty. Like, now what? And I like that you say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Perspective is huge, and
yeah. You know what's funny? Every time I've talked to so numerous people for my, live broadcast for StartDayOne, talking to different people, different mental health knowledge, methods, or whatever, just anything to help people out. That's what we're trying to do. And whenever I hear people, it always, until I see something else, but it always seems to boil down, it's really just their perspective that changes.
Yeah.
Look at any guru that like, this was happening. Oh, I was homeless and this and that. And then guess what I did? Boom. I changed my mind. And it just always, I saw this one lady, she was suicidal. Oh, I've been dealing with it for 18 years, blah, blah, blah. I was just always depressed and this and that. And then all of a sudden, after the Dalai Lama, like, wow, it took you to Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
All it was she finally changed her perspective, that I'm one with the universe and this. And all it was this perspective, not her situation, not her money, nothing, not family, not relationship, nothing. And it always kind of goes down to that. And that's why I always emphasize to people, that's where it starts, because all your decisions will follow that perspective.
Right. Yeah. So one of the things that we talked about when we first met was, the stages of grief, I think it was.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, a lot of people have a big misconception about mental health today, and it's killing me. And that's actually kind of one of my biggest things that I'm trying to change, is their perspective on mental health, period. They see and it's not people's fault. It's actually the society, organizations, and doctors' fault. And they don't kind of know either, right? It's just that they're looking at the wrong thing. You have to remedy the cause, not the result. And everyone's just remedying the result. The result, what I mean is like depression is a result. Anxiety is a result. That's just an automatic response, right? So when we were talking about DADA, or the 5 stages of grief, when someone comes up to me and they say, "Oh man, I've got depression or whatever, I'm depressed," I just say, "Good. It's good. You're almost there."
Yeah, right.
Because people don't understand the 5 stages of grief. You go through it. You have to go through it. It's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. Acceptance is the only positive outcome from any of those responses, right? It's the only one. But what do people do? They don't like that feeling of depression, so they go to doctors to get rid of it. Like, what are you doing? Like, no, you have to go through that, or else you have to do it so you can get to acceptance. If they're giving you a pill that makes you go to acceptance, great. But if it's just numbing the pain from the depression, no bueno, dude. That's not good, because that's the same thing as alcohol and actual freaking psychedelic drug, except they're more fun. You know what I mean? It's like, but it's the same thing. You're just numbing the pain and prolonging the pain. Right. And then it gets to the point you forgot what the hell your pain was about. And that's why you linger forever.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then I also want to talk about, so I guess this like a 2-part question. Okay. Yeah. So like if you're obviously an advocate for mental health awareness and suicide prevention and stuff like that. So when you do talk to somebody about, that kind of stuff, you've touched on a lot of that stuff already, but how do you help them? How do you deal with them? And the second part of that question, I'll ask as you go, if you don't touch on it.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. So I've been actually thinking about that, because for the past couple of years, I just kind of talk about what I learned, right? And then I'm hoping something changes their perspective. And then I started going like, how would I talk to someone? And so I started kind of figuring out like the process, I guess, and it comes out as like, what is the process for the pursuit of happiness? I like saying the pursuit of happiness, not just happiness, because happiness, again, is also a result. It's finite. It doesn't go, I'm happy. Oh, I'm happy forever. No, you're happy today. You're happy tomorrow. But something can happen. And it doesn't mean you're abnormal. It's just life, you know? And so I started realizing like, dude, there's actually like these steps that you need to take so before you try to pursue happiness, first step, purpose. You need the sense of purpose, because that's your why. You're going anywhere, why you're going towards anything. You have to figure that out. That's why people always say, I'm lost. Where are you going? You don't know? Well, that's why you're lost. You're always going to be lost, because you're not even trying to find out where you're going or why you're going there. So purpose is huge. The next step is figuring out, is your perspective aligned with your purpose? You know what? I'm going to start a podcast just to help people in real estate business and this and that. But your perspective is, but I don't really have enough time. No one's going to listen to me. I'm a loser. I just moved here. No one really knows me here. If your perspective is that, it's not in line with your purpose, right? So now you have to go, okay, my perspective is a little bit off. Because that's the beauty of the purpose. It doesn't matter if we have the tendency to go away from pain and going towards pleasure, right? Yeah. But when you have a sense of purpose, those don't really matter, because you're going to go through both of them. Right. And so when you have that perspective, sometimes to change that perspective, you need inspiration. Yo, I started my podcast and I had 0 time, 10 kids and this, and you're going to go, damn, I don't have those. Like, I think I could do it. So that is actually the only purpose of inspiration, is to change your perspective. Once you change your perspective, now the power of decision can come to play. None of us will make that decision if your perspective is this way, ever. Yeah. If you think, I'm not going to make it, podcast, this, that, then all your decisions will go here. Nope, no podcast. But if your perspective switches over here, then your decision follow. And sometimes it shifts back, but you just have to get inspiration again and whatever. Once you make that decision, that's the only time motivation comes in handy. I can't motivate you to do your podcast if you haven't decided to do it. Because your perspective is like, yeah, but this and that. Motivation only comes afterwards. It's I learned from this book too. Same thing with passion. You don't get passionate about something beforehand. So you're passionate about surfing, but you never surfed before. Really? That's interesting. Because you're tricking yourself. You're telling yourself what you're passionate about. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You automatically get passionate about certain things. I wasn't a hardcore flicker like, oh, I can't wait to save people's lives. But I started my clothing line. It started off, I'm just a college dude, just reminding people to have some fun, you know, live life without regret, accept challenges worth the risk, you know, like it was more about accept challenges worth the risk when you're young. But as you get older, wisdom, live life without regret, you know?
Right.
So that kind of added on. I analyzed, like, why the hell did we say that phrase, fuck it? And so that's kind of where I lead people, like, well, what's your purpose first? All right, so why can't you do that? Because I got to figure out their perspective on it.
Yeah.
And then I change their perspective on that. And then from there, now you can make a decision. And then from there, let's motivate you. And then it becomes habit. And then that's the pursuit of happiness. But something's always going to tweak you. Someone's going to pass away. You get in an accident, like, damn it. You know, you're going to like, why me? Shit, fuck. Instead of now what, right?
Yeah.
And so that's at least my process in helping people out now.
Right. So the second part of that question was, I wanted you to talk about the main color of Fukitt.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, you know, one of the things that we try to instigate in people's minds, right, is they always try to remedy the result, like I mentioned, like depression, anxiety, and stuff like that. And I always say, like, why are you always reactive rather than proactive?
Yeah.
I've learned from talking to people when just explaining the brand, dude. I would just say the brand and they're like, wow, you know, this, that. And then obviously we talk about more other things. But after different events, I get these emails saying like, hey, you really changed my mind. Thank you so much. Or, hey, I was actually suicidal when I met you. You saved my life. Thank you. I got so used to that because I'm just like, I'm just doing me. But my wife would be crying and like reading emails. And I'm just like, yo, isn't that cool? You know? And then she's just like, you don't get it. Like, no one really gets these kinds of emails where, hey, you saved my life. Like, it's kind of big. And to me, it's like, yeah, I guess so. That's kind of cool. You know? Like, Cause, you know, I'm not taking it like, oh, I saved people's lives. That wasn't my duty. I was just reminding people like, yo, just trying to emulate, like, just live life a little more. That's all I'm saying. Like, it just happens to prevent people from doing it. So anyway, I've learned the proactive approach is always better rather than the reactive one. Like, hey, Mike, make sure you call me when you're suicidal, all right? Don't call me as an alcoholic, a drug abuser, or anything like that. I just need you when you're suicidal. And it's very idiotic to me. And this is my best explanation for people that don't understand what I mean about being reactive versus proactive. Diabetes. You know, we're very reactive to, you know, the mental health, right? Every time mental health comes out, it's, hey, let's look for symptoms of depression, anxiety, mental health issues, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, if I taught you how to look for symptoms of diabetes, are you going to make all your kids eat whatever the hell they want because now you know how to look for symptoms of diabetes? It sounds like nonsense, but how come when it comes to mental health, you guys are all like, yeah, that's what we got to do? It doesn't make sense to me. So the theme color, teal, T-E-A-L, has become our reminder for people.
Yeah.
You know, it stands for the time, effort, attention, and love. These are the things that you can give, and actually what you need also to help prevent with mental health issues and suicide prevention, right? Because those are like your vegetables. The same way to prevent diabetes, you say, eat your vegetables, go exercise. That's teal for the mind.
Yeah.
You know, that's, I guess, teal for the, you know, your mindset or whatever. Right. When you give someone the time, effort, attention, and love, don't do it like, wait, not yet. Michael's not suicidal yet.
Yeah.
All right, now he's suicidal. All right, give him teal. Now, go.
Yeah.
It's the way they treat diabetes. Like, oh, insulin. Let's not talk about sugar. Is that what's happening here? Like, okay, even though that's the cause. And that's what I keep trying to tell people. Like, you have to look at the cause, not the result. The cause is a lot of sugar, carbohydrates, all that stuff. That's what causes diabetes.
Yeah.
So we're, you know, we're taught that when you're young. Hey, stop eating so much candy. Halloween, like give me half of that, or right?
Yeah.
We do that. How come we don't do it for mental health? Right?
Yeah.
Someone's crying, someone's this, like, oh, he's still good. It's not like he's staying in a room all day yet, you know?
Right.
So
Yeah. I was definitely very lucky because I had, a great support system, like a family support system, a friend support system. So It was exactly what you were talking about.
Huge.
So it was like immediate, right? So
Yeah.
like they knew it before I even knew it. Right. And they encouraged me to, talk to somebody or talk to them or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was, huge for me. And, obviously my parents, I'm indebted to them for quite a bit, but that's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Yeah. So I want you to talk more about StartDayOne because it goes beyond just the Fukitt Clothing company. So talk a little bit about that.
So when I was doing the clothing line, people would always ask like, oh, so what do you donate to or whatever? Because, well, you're promoting suicide prevention awareness. And I'm just like, no, we're not. I didn't know how to explain it. So I always said like, oh, we're just like the front lines, like we're the front lines. We're getting to you. We are doing suicide prevention.
Yeah.
We're not. And people never understood when people bought our apparel and our brand, it wasn't so you can support mental health in general, the industry or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you. Like you have the shirt on right now. No one is immune. There's going to be a day you're going to have a really shitty day. And then you're going to see that shirt and it says never give up on it. But it's useless until you go, yeah, fuck it. That's when it goes, you made a decision. Awesome. Good for you, Michael. Yeah. And no one is immune to that. I'm not immune to it. And I've been doing this for freaking years. Tony Robbins ain't immune to it. Everyone goes through this because it's impossible not to. That's why I say it's impossible to live life to the fullest. But the more you believe that, the more you actually get closer to it.
Yeah.
And so the proactive approach, right? I'm like, when I tell people, I told you about the emails that we get. And I'm like, whoa, this is actually what's more effective. This is what we need to do more. This is what we need to duplicate. And so we started StartDayOne. Our mission was to change people's perspectives and from dreaming of one day to starting day one. Day one means there's a day two, day three, day four, day five, and so on, right? Because people get really overwhelmed with how much they have to do, but really they just don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Look at just work alone, right? I have so much to do. Like, dude, just pick one. Start on something. I'm an alcoholic. Oh, I gotta be sober tomorrow. Nah, dude. Just start day one last beer, bro. Chill out on that. And that's what I'm saying. So it's like starting day one. And so that's what we want to do. So when we raise funds, our goal is actually to produce content that we can distribute that hopefully changes people's perspective. So we've been doing that with like podcast style, things like that. But mostly what we really want is sending other speakers, because I learned when I'm talking to people, it changes them. And I'd rather that. There's something about the personal communication. That's why you have to take out your clients and all that stuff for your job, right?
Right.
It just creates that trust, that bond, and then they're willing to talk to you more.
Yeah.
And so we actually try to raise funds so we can send speakers to schools, colleges, military bases, rehab centers, and any, related events. I don't like the idea, like whenever you see, I try not to go into that suicide prevention realm because people always think that's not for me. I'm not suicidal.
Right.
Dude, if you're complaining about your relationship, if you're complaining about your job, if your perspective is shot, you're already headed that way. Like you're already headed that way because this is how it starts. Negative perspective evolves to becoming suicidal tendencies. Everything in between, anxiety, depression, alcoholism, drug abuse, it's all one line. I don't know why society separates it like, oh, you're an alcoholic, that's this department over here. Drug abuse is over here. And it's just like, same cause though. You never forgave daddy? Is that what happened there? Like, what happened? You never let go of that past? Well, it's the same cause, just different result, right? Yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing to StartDayOne. It's like, we have to be more proactive. Send some speakers out there. A lot of them are willing to help, but they can't do it for free all the time, right? So why not hook it up? And, now there's no more that excuse of like, we don't have the budget for this. It's like, it's free. Like, we got you. Like, we got you. Can we save lives now? Because most of the time, a school will start looking for a speaker. You know when they look, right?
Right. After something happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After, so it's like, that's like giving someone vegetables when you find out they have diabetes. It's like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Right. So what, for people listening, what are ways that they can get involved?
Oh, so StartDayOne's very new. So obviously supporting, whether it's getting apparel. What's awesome, it almost automates, right? So when you wear this apparel, someone's going to ask, yo, what is that? And sometimes that potential offensiveness of the name creates that conversation.
Yeah.
And then when you tell them, oh, it's Fukitt Clothing, it like helps you kind of just remind you to like live life more instead of complaining about it. They do suicide prevention. All of a sudden it spreads that message. So just that alone helps.
Yeah.
Just by spreading the message. With StartDayOne, obviously donations and things like that would always help, but helping us raise money. If there's speakers out there, being able to speak at different venues could help. I'm really thinking of doing something where I can train people that just want to help.
Yeah. Train
people what they need to say, because sometimes it's the content, dude.
Right.
Sometimes you don't need the speaker. I just need to make sure the content is spread. I've had people like working for me, with my brand and stuff, make people cry. I didn't say it. I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
It was just someone relaying my message. That's it. This is what happened. He lost his brother to suicide, and he did this. He learned this, and he just kind of said, and they all of a sudden like, wow, boom. And so that is like probably at least the way I see it, that can help is really spreading it,
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. All right. So we're going to move into our closing segment, which we do for every episode, and it's called Under the Spotlight. Okay. So normally for the real estate episodes, I'll ask them to give me one bold prediction. For some of the other episodes, I've asked different things. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you for, maybe you touched on it already, but what's, if you could leave everybody that's listening with one thing, what's that one thing?
Ooh, wow.
This is a big one.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It's a tough question. We ask hard-hitting questions on this show.
Yeah. Let's see. The one thing, I think the one thing that anyone's listening to, if you could just get something out of this, is really the idea of trying to cure the cause rather than the result.
Right.
Because you can apply that to every aspect of your life. You have money problems. What's causing it? Don't just go like, oh, there's nothing in the bank. Well, yeah, but what's causing that? Like, why isn't there? Or your mental health, obesity, well, why are you gaining weight? So when you can really figure out what's causing that, because people always say, everyone knows, just like mental health, think positive. Everyone knows exercise and diet, right? But sometimes when you look for the cause, well, why aren't you dieting? Why aren't you exercising? Well, because you're depressed as hell because you won't let go of this issue. Right. It's like, that's actually the cause. So that is something that can be used forever and ever. And so that would be my one big thing.
Awesome. No, I think that was great. So for everybody listening, if you want to touch base with Ricardo, I'm going to put his contact information, the websites on the show notes. So make sure to read that, check it out. Reach out to him if you have questions, if you want to talk to him. Obviously, he's a great guy. Ricardo, thanks for doing it with us.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And everybody else, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.